that's going to just measure your steps for you, you can just get an Hey, there we go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. This is Teresa Horn, and I am the founder of Sisterhood of Strong. I'm going to be talking about finding the perfect workout shoe, and I brought some shoes with me. And it's funny because I am in my home and I don't have on shoes right now. And I thought, I'm going to stay without shoes in case we have any specific questions. So if like I have a question about choosing shoes, I'll actually take a couple questions today. So if you know that you have a shoe question, a question about shoes, wearing shoes, choosing shoes, you can put that in the comments. And at the end, I will actually answer a couple of questions if we have any questions come in. Hopefully, I will be so thorough that you will be like, I have no questions. I know how I'm going to choose my shoes. I've got all the answers now. Thank you so much, Teresa. Again, thank you for joining me. When you join live, please say live. And when you are watching the replay, say #replay. I'll come back and answer any questions. I'd love to interact with you guys. So please say live if you're live and replay if you are catching the replay. So I'm going to go over three, maybe four major things to think about when you're choosing workout shoes. And again, I think once we get done with these four things that you will be good to go to choose your next pair of workout shoes. Now, I specifically say workout shoes because depending on the activity that you're going to do, you're going to want a different shoe. So the shoe that you choose is going to be based on the activity. So for most of us, especially most of my clients, you're going to want a cross trainer. You're going to want a shoe that you can use for different kinds of movement. You just don't want a running shoe unless you're specifically going to only be doing walking and running. So most of us are going to want a cross trainer. If you are like, I'm going to run and do other things and you're pretty dedicated and you know that's what you're going to do, I would actually suggest two kinds of shoes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me back it up. I'm going to go through my notes so I make sure I don't forget anything. Again, my name is Teresa, and we're talking about choosing the perfect workout shoe for you. Okay, so number one, you're going to want to be looking for the construction of a shoe, how the shoe is made, specifically on the bottom. So what I said was you want a different shoe for running than you do for a general workout shoe is many of us are going to want a shoe with a thicker bottom, more support on the bottom. That's going to provide like shock absorption for you. And also there's like different shoes. You could have a leather, the bottom of your shoe, or a synthetic. Leather is going to be is going to have more support, but a synthetic is going to have more breathability. It's going to breathe more. So if you know that your feet get hot, that you have sweaty feet, we're going to talk about this kind of stuff, y'all, but if you have sweaty feet, you probably don't want a leather shoe because it won't breathe and then the sweat will get trapped and then you'll have sweaty feet. Socks come into play with that, but we're only going to talk about shoes today. So there you go. The construction of the shoe. Is it made of leather? Is it a synthetic? Is the shoe really wide? These are actually, so I really love Brooks shoes. And so the majority of the shoes I'll talk about or show you today are Brooks. So if you see this shoe, it has a pretty wide bottom. The construction is pretty wide. When you look at, there are certain shoes that are known for this, like a Hoka is got a really wide bottom. A lot of people love those shoes because of that. But the bottom of the shoe, the construction of the shoe is one of the things that you want to look at. Now, with this shoe, you see the bottom of it. It would not be a good shoe for if I was moving laterally, right? So if you think about this is wide, I'm higher off the ground. So as I move this, move back and forth, I have a greater tendency to roll my ankles in a shoe where I'm higher off the ground. So that's why I talk about knowing what activity you're going to do with the shoe, because if you're going to be running and walking, that's an excellent shoe, right? Because I've got a lot of cushion. If I was going to be moving side to side, I wouldn't really want that shoe because I would be higher off the ground. The higher from the ground you are, the less stability you have for lateral movement. So that for me, that would not be a good shoe to be like doing boxing or any type of boot camp where I'm moving in lots of planes, right? If I'm moving this way and that way, I would want a shoe that has a lower profile where I'm lower to the ground. So the first thing is we're going to look at the construction of the shoe. The second thing you want to know is what kind of arch you have. So I have a low arch or flat feet, and I also have wide feet. So that's going to mean that I'm going to need a very different shoe than somebody who has a high arch or a normal arch or narrow feet. Shoes are going to fit differently depending on if your foot is wide and if your arch is flat. So you're going to need to have a shoe that's going to support the kind of arch that you have. So for me, I know that I have a flat foot and a wide foot. So I need a shoe that has a lot of control, a lot of support on the sides to help my feet from rolling out. I tend to roll out my feet when I stand. And as I get tired, I even really get more, my feet kind of, what's it called? Pigeon toes and out duck. So my feet will go out to the sides. You want a shoe that's going to help support so you don't roll out, because when we do that, that hurts our knees, right? So you want a shoe that's going to help support you be in alignment. So you should know what kind of arch you have and then choose your shoe based on the arch. So a good shoe store is going to be able to look at you and help tell you what shoe is going to support you best. If you don't have that knowledge yourself, definitely go to a good shoe store and have them look at you walk and look at you stand, and then they can suggest a shoe based on those things, on your gait and your stand and your stride. Okay. So what kind of arch do you have? And, is your foot wide or narrow? So those will be important things to know. The next thing we're going to be looking at is the fit of a shoe and how comfortable the shoe is. And I know that sounds, sounds like something, oh, of course you want a shoe that's comfortable and it fits well. Well, it's often hard to tell if the shoe fits well or if it's comfortable based on a short amount of time in the store. So many shoe stores that specifically specialize in running. If you go to a running store, they usually specialize in all types of movement, but they'll be called a running store. You want to be able to have a shoe where you can wear it and actually wear the shoe for a while before you have to make a final decision. So generally you go in and you choose a shoe, and then, you'll think that's the shoe you want, but you want to move in that shoe and then be able to take it back if it doesn't work out for you. Because often we'll try a shoe on in the store and it will feel good, but then when you wear it for actual workout, it won't feel great anymore. So you want to have a shoe that feels comfortable and fits well and that you can also test out and then be able to return it if it doesn't really work, because you never really know until you work out in the shoe. So comfort and fit. And most shoes don't break in. I know my oldest son, he tried on some shoes the other day and he was like, these feel good, but I think, once I wear them, they'll break in a little bit. You don't want to have to break in a shoe, especially if you're talking about how it feels, if it feels tight on your foot. Generally, your foot expands as you wear a shoe, right? Because you put on a shoe before movement, and then as you move, your foot expands. So the shoe is probably not going to expand that much. A workout shoe isn't necessarily going to expand and give you space. Your foot's going to expand. So as you work out and as it swells. So you probably don't want to try to break in a shoe. You want it to fit well when you first put it on, and you want it to be comfortable. So you also want a little room. You don't want your toe right at the bottom, right at the bottom of your shoe. You want a little space there. How many of you guys remember, trying on shoes when you were little and your parents would, or the shoe person at the shoe store would make sure you have space? You want to have a little space. Little space, not a lot of space, so your foot is moving around, but you do want a little space so your toe doesn't hit up on the end once you get moving. So the fit and the comfort. And then the last, I do have shoes here. I'm going to show you guys. Like I said, one of my favorite shoes are a Brooks. I also like Asics because I mentioned that I have a wider foot. I'm going to show you two of my favorite cross trainers. This is an Asics shoe, and you can see it doesn't have a really thick base, but it does have a certain amount of thickness to the base of the shoe. It looks like this. The color and all that stuff doesn't really matter, but if you look at the profile of the shoe, it's got a low. It's low to the ground. This is another one. This is a Brooks shoe. Again, it's relatively low. And so when I move from side to side in a shoe like that, I'm not high off the ground, and I don't have that possibility of rolling my ankles the same way I do in a higher shoe. So I'm going to show you these two side by side. I'm hoping that this is coming through as good, and you guys can see how high, on that wrong side, see how high this is compared to how much more sole there is compared to this one. So this is really what I mean when I say low profile. All right, so let's talk about where to go to get your shoes. One of the most surprising things for me is I used to just go to a department store and get my tennis shoes. I would totally go to a department store and when they were on sale, and even when I get a coupon, that's where I would get my shoes. But the shoes you find in a department store and the shoes you find at a running store or a specialty workout store, they're different shoes. Now I was like, what? They're different shoes? They're different shoes. They the companies produce different shoes for those places. So you definitely, especially if you're serious about your feet, and as we get older, you guys know you don't play around with shoes that hurt your feet anymore. It's that's not that time is over. You want a shoe that feels good on your foot and that's going to support your foot, because that's where everything starts. Feet, ankles, knees, hips, all of that starts at our feet. So you want to have a good shoe, and that means it's going to be an investment. So you don't want to go to a department store to get your shoes. You want to go to a specialty store. I would suggest a running store, unless you're somewhere that has a multi-purpose workout shoe store. Generally, we're talking about a running store, and that's where you're going to have a higher quality shoe. Think about, or just in your mind, set it in your mind that you're going to be spending about $100 for a quality shoe. Again, I remember I was like, what? $100? Yes, $100. And really, that's kind of the middle. You might strike it lucky and get one for 89 on sale, or you might, be at the, like, you need to spend about 120 for your shoe, but generally about $100 is going to be where the price point for a quality shoe. And again, remember, we're investing in